one live video. There we go. Good afternoon and welcome. It is 5:30. It's time for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, part 3. Part 3? Yes, that's right. Cool. I do apologize about yesterday. The video took so long to load. It was 2 gigabytes worth of video. Yeah. So, here we are today, again, live once more. As you guys may know, I've been doing these stories at the same time every weekday, just to keep you guys entertained, to keep myself entertained as well. I find it fun. I do, and I'm reading from my favourite childhood story. So if you guys are enjoying yourselves, then please do share this video around. That would be wonderful. Now, there's nobody watching yet, but when you do start watching, I'm going to ask what accent you want me to do for one of the characters who's going to appear today. And I'll give it my very best shot. I might regret this. Otherwise, I'll just do the first thing that comes to my mind. So I'm going to wait till I have some live viewers and then ask. So let's carry on then for you guys who are going to watch from the start. What am I reading? Charlie, written by Roald Dahl. Chapter 7. Charlie's birthday. Ooh. Happy birthday! Cried the 4 old grandparents as Charlie came into the room early the next morning. Charlie smiled nervously and sat down on the edge of the bed. He was holding his present, his only present, very carefully in his 2 hands. Wonka's Wibble Scrunchus. Let me try that again. Wonka's. I can't do it. Wonka's Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mallow Delight. You try saying that 5 times in a row. Wonka's Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mallow Delight. Ha ha! It said on the wrapper. Never asked me to say that again. Good, it doesn't come up again. Whew. The 4 old people, 2 at either end of the bed, propped themselves up on their pillows, and they stared with anxious eyes at the bar of chocolate in Charlie's hands. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket came in and stood at the foot of the bed, watching Charlie. The room became silent. Everybody was waiting now for Charlie to start opening his present. Charlie looked down at the bar of chocolate. He ran his fingers slowly back and forth along the length of it, stroking it lovingly, and the shiny paper made it little sharp, crackling noises in the quiet room. Then Mrs. Bucket said gently, "You mustn't be too disappointed, my darling, if you don't find what you're looking for underneath the wrapper. You really can't expect to be as lucky as all that." "She's quite right," Mr. Bucket said. Charlie didn't say anything. "After all," Grandpa Josephine said, "in the whole wide world there are only 3 tickets left to be found."
"The thing to remember," Grandpa Georgina said, "is that whatever happens, you still have the bar of chocolate."
Oh no, it does come back. "Wonka's Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mallow Delight!" cried Grandpa George. "It's the best of them all, that's right. You'll just love it. Hey, hey!" "Yes," Charlie whispered. "I know." "Just forget about the golden ticket. Just forget it and enjoy the chocolate," Grandpa Joe said. "Why didn't you do that?" They all knew it was ridiculous to expect this one poor little bar of chocolate to have a magic ticket inside it, and they were trying as gently and as kindly as they could to prepare Charlie for the disappointment. But there was only one other thing that the grown-ups... Sorry, there was one other thing that the grown-ups also knew, and it was this, that however small the chance might be of striking lucky, the chance was there. The chance had to be there. This particular bar of chocolate had as much chance as any other of having a golden ticket. And that was why all the grandparents and the parents in the room were actually just as tense and excited as Charlie was, although they were pretending to be very calm. I'm tense as well, and I know what happens. "You better go ahead and open it, or you'll be late for school," Grandpa Joe said. "You might as well get it over with," Grandpa George said.
"Open it, my dear,"
Grandpa Georgina said.
"Please open it. You're making me feel very, very jumpy."
Very slowly, Charlie's fingers began to tear open one small corner of the wrapping paper. Then all the old people in the bed leaned forward, craning their scraggy necks.
"Oh!"
Here's a picture. Go on. While you're looking at the picture, at the beginning of the video, if you guys are watching live, I want you to post in the comments what accent you want me to do for a character that's coming up in the next chapter. Otherwise, I'll make one up myself. I won't make up an accent, I'll just do it. I'm looking at you, Peter, my biggest fan. Chuck an accent in there and I'll try and do it for the next character. All right, back to the story. Then, suddenly, as though he couldn't bear the suspense any longer, Charlie tore the wrapper right down the middle, and onto his lap there fell a light brown, creamy coloured bar of chocolate. There was no sign of a golden ticket anywhere. "Well, that's that," said Grandpa Joe, brightly. "It's just what we expected." Charlie looked up. 4 kindly old faces were watching him intently from the bed. He smiled at them all, a small, sad smile, and then he shrugged his shoulders and picked up the chocolate bar and held it out to his mother and said, "Here, Mother, have a bit. We'll share it. I want everybody to taste it." "Certainly not," his mother said, and the others all cried, "No, no, no!
No, no, we wouldn't dream of it."
That's all yours." "Please," begged Charlie, turning round and offering it to Grandpa Joe, but neither he nor anybody else would take even a tiny bit. "It's time to go to school, my darling," Mrs. Bucket said, putting an arm round Charlie's skinny shoulders. "Come on, or you'll be late." Chapter 8. Chapter 8. 2 more golden tickets found. Thank you very much, Peter. He's given me an accent to do for this character coming up. Oh, dearie me. Right. Chapter 8. 2 more golden tickets found. That evening, Mr. Bucket's newspaper announced the finding of not only the 3rd golden ticket, but the 4th as well. "2 golden tickets found today," screamed the headlines. "Only 1 more left." "All right," said Grandpa Joe, when the whole family was gathered in the room together after supper. "Let's hear who found it then, come on." "The 3rd ticket," read Mr. Bucket, holding the newspaper up close to his face, because his eyes were bad and he couldn't afford his glasses. "The 3rd ticket was found by Miss Violet Beauregard. There was great excitement in the Beauregard household when our reporter arrived to interview the lucky young lady. Cameras were clicking and flash bulbs were flashing and people were pushing and jostling and trying to get a bit closer to the famous girl. And the famous girl was standing on a chair in the living room waving the golden ticket madly at arm's length as though she were flagging a taxi. She was talking very fast and very loudly at everyone in an Australian accent, but it was not easy to hear all that she said because she was chewing so ferociously on a piece of gum at the same time." Dearie me, so I'm going to do fast, loud, Australian chewing gum. This is barbecue, mate. Right, mate? No, that's New Zealand. All right, Bruce? Okay. "I'm a gum chewing normally," she started, "but when I heard about these ticket things at Mr. Wonka's, I gave up gum and started on chocolate bars in the hope of striking lucky. Now, of course, I'm back on the gum. I just adore gum. I can't do it without it. I munch it all day long, except for a few minutes at meal times when I take it out and stick it behind my ear for safekeeping. To tell you the truth, I simply wouldn't feel comfortable if I didn't have that little wedge of gum to chew on every moment of the day. I really wouldn't. My mother says it's not ladylike and it looks ugly to see a girl's jaws going up and down like mine do all the time, but I don't agree. And who's she to criticise, eh?" There you go. Who's she to criticise anyway? Because if you ask me, I'd say that her jaws are going up and down all the time, yelling at me, every minute of the day, right? "Now, Violet." Oh, that's her mother. "Now, Violet," Mrs. Beauregard said from a far corner of the room, where she was standing on the piano to avoid being trampled by the mob. "All right, Mother, keep your hair on," Miss Beauregard shouted. "And now," she went on, turning to the reporters again, "it may interest you to know that this piece of gum I've been chewing right at this moment is the one I've been working on for over 3 months solid. 3 months. That's a record, that is. It's beaten the record held by my best friend, Miss Cornelia Prince-Mental. And she was furious. It's my most treasured possession now, this piece of gum is. At night time, I just stick it on the end of the bedpost. And it's as good as ever in the mornings. A bit hard at first, maybe, but it soon softens up after I've given it a good few chews. Before I started chewing for the world record, I used to change my piece of gum once a day. I used to do it in our lift on the way home from school. Why the lift? Because I like sticking the gooey piece that I just finished with onto the control buttons like that. Then the next person who came along pressed the button, got my old gum on the end of his or her finger. And what a racket they kicked up, some of them. You get the best results with women with expensive gloves on. Ah, yes, I'm thrilled to be going to Wonka's factory. And I understand that afterwards he's going to give me enough gum to last me for the rest of my life. Whoopee! Hooray! Beastly girl, said Grandpa Josephine.
Despicable,
said Grandma Georgina.
She'll come to a sticky end, chewing all that gum. You see if she doesn't.
Oh, and who's got the 4th ticket? Charlie said. Now, let me see, said Mr. Bucket, peering at the newspaper again. Ah, yes, here we are. The 4th golden ticket, he read, was found by a boy called Mike TV. Another bad lot, I'll be bound, muttered Grandma Josephine. Don't interrupt, Grandma, said Mrs. Bucket. The TV household, said Mr. Bucket, going on with his reading, was crammed, like all the others, with excited visitors when our reporters arrived, but young Mike TV, the lucky winner, seemed extremely annoyed by the whole business. Can you see I'm watching television, fools? He said angrily. I wish you wouldn't interrupt me. The 9-year-old boy was seated before an enormous television set with his eyes glued to the screen, and he was watching a film in which one bunch of gangsters was shooting up another bunch of gangsters with machine guns. Mike TV himself had no less than 18 toy pistols of various sizes hanging from belts around his body, and every now and again he would leap up in the air and fire off half a dozen rounds from one or another of these weapons. Quiet! He shouted when someone tried to ask him a question. Hey, didn't I tell you not to interrupt? This show's an absolute whiz-banger. Wow, it's terrific. I watch it every day. I watch all of them every day, even the rotten ones when there's no shooting. I like the gangsters best. Yeah, especially when they start pumping each other full of lead, or flashing the old stilettos, or giving one another the old 1, 2, 3 with their knuckle dusters. Gosh, what wouldn't I give to be doing that myself? It's the life, I tell you. It's terrific. Here's a picture. No, that's quite enough, snapped Grandma Josephine. I can't bear to listen to it.
No, me,
said Grandma Georgina.
Do all children behave like this nowadays? Like these brats we've been hearing about?
Of course not, said Mr. Bucket, smiling to the old lady in the bed. Some do, of course. In fact, quite a lot of them do. But not all. And now there's only 1 ticket left, said Grandpa George.
Quite so,
sniffed Grandma Georgina.
And just as sure as I'll be having cabbage soup for my supper tomorrow, that ticket'll likely go to some nasty little beast who doesn't deserve it.
Chapter 9. Grandpa Joe takes a gamble. The next day, when Charlie came home from school and went in to see his grandparents, he found that only Grandpa Joe was awake. The other 3 were all snoring loudly, like so. Shh, whispered Grandpa Joe, and he beckoned Charlie to come closer. Charlie tiptoed over and stood beside the bed. The old man gave Charlie a sly grin, and then he started rummaging under his pillow with one hand. And when the hand came out to get close, to reconnect. Thank you very much. We're back in the game, just trying to reconnect. The old man opened the purse and tipped it upside down. Out fell a single silver 6pence.
It's my secret hoard,
he whispered.
The others don't know I've got it. Oh, and now you and I are going to have one more fling at finding that last ticket. How about it, eh? You'll have to help me.
You sure you want to spend your money on that, Grandpa? Charlie whispered.
Of course I'm sure,
spluttered the old man excitedly.
Don't stand there arguing. I'm as keen as you are to find that ticket. Here, take the money and run down to the high street to the nearest shop and buy the first Wonka bar that you see and bring it straight back to me, and we'll open it together.
Charlie took the little silver coin and slipped quickly out of the room. In 5 minutes, he was back.
Have you got it?
Whispered Grandpa Joe, his eyes shining with excitement. Charlie nodded and held out the bar of chocolate. Wonka's... I can't even speak. Wonka's Nutty Crunch Surprise, it said on the wrapper. Why are these chocolate bars so hard to say? Wonka's Nutty Crunch Surprise.
Good,
the old man whispered, sitting up in the bed and rubbing his hands.
Now, come over here and sit close to me, and we'll open it together. Oh, are you ready?
Yes, said Charlie. I'm ready.
All right. You tear off the first bit.
No, said Charlie. You paid for it. You do it all. The old man's fingers were trembling most terribly as they fumbled with the wrapper.
We don't have a hope,
Really, he whispered, giggling a bit.
You don't know that we don't have a hope, don't you?
Yes, said Charlie, I know that. They looked at each other and both started giggling nervously.
Mind you,
said Grandpa Joe.
there is just a tiny chance that it might be the one, don't you agree?
Yes, Charlie said. Of course. Why don't you open it, Grandpa?
All in good time, my boy, all in good time.
Which end do you think I ought to open first? That corner, the one furthest from you. Just tear it. Just tear off a tiny bit. But not quite enough for us to see anything.
Like that?
Said the old man. Yes, now a little bit more.
Oh, you finish it, said Grandpa Joe. I'm too nervous.
No, Grandpa, you must do it yourself.
Very well, then. Here goes.
Oh! He tore off the wrapper. They both stared at what lay underneath. It was a bar of chocolate, nothing more. All at once, they both saw the funny side of the whole thing, and they burst into peals of laughter. What on earth is going on? Cried Grandma Josephine, waking up suddenly.
Nothing,
said Grandpa Joe.
You go on back to sleep.
Oh boy, do I want to carry on, but I've done 3 chapters and that's all I'm doing per night. So that's all for today. Yes. Leave in the comments how well you think I did on the Australian accent, or maybe don't. You make me cry. Okay. Marvellous. I shall see you guys tomorrow at 5:30. Don't like it. Do share it if you want others to see it. And let's find out what happens. Does Charlie get a ticket or does he not? Find out tomorrow, 5:30. See you guys. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, because I certainly did too.